Each of us interacts with screens every day, from our phones to our computers, and sometimes we don't even realize how much it's shaping our lives. We're constantly scrolling, streaming, tapping away, but have we ever stopped to think what it's really doing to our minds, our families, and even our productivity? Now, that's what today's workshop is all about. Have you really wondered how much of your day is spent glued to a screen? Well, I thought about mine a while ago and it scared me. You see, from the moment we wake up to when we go to bed, our devices have become so much a part of us. But what's happening behind the scenes in our brains, with our families, and in our daily lives as we immerse ourselves in the digital world? Welcome to the NCU Media Group's Living It workshop titled Screenshot, where we're peeling back the layers to understand the true impact of screen time. We'll explore how it affects our brains, our relationships, and mental well-being. And our expert speakers, including a neurologist and specialists in family dynamics, children's development, and social media, will guide us through practical ways to balance our screen habits and create healthier, more intentional interactions with technology. Welcome to all our online viewers tuning in through YouTube on NCU TV Jamaica, on Watch EJC Live and on NCU TV. We encourage you to engage with others in the chat. It's a great way to share your thoughts and to connect with others in this space. And for those attending on Zoom, we have something very special for you. Not only will you get the opportunity to challenge the quiz, but also if you stick around long enough, you'll receive a certificate of participation. To our avid listeners on NCU FM 91.1, 91.3, 91.5, and on our app, thank you so much for staying locked to our frequencies. NCU FM, transforming lives through education and wellness. And for our viewers on YouTube, watching through NCU TV and Watch EJC Live, make sure that you engage in the chat. Share your thoughts and questions with the community. And for our Zoom participants, yes, your certificate of participation, I know that's important to you, so stay tuned throughout the session. Thanks to our sponsors, the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, Social Pension Program, Caring for Our Elderly. It's now time for our first presentation.
And it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Francene Gayle, a highly accomplished neurologist and healthcare innovator. Dr. Gayle is a medical graduate of the University of the West Indies, where she graduated with honors in 2001. She later earned her Doctor of Internal Medicine degree from the University of the West Indies in 2008. And catch this part now, she pursued dual clinical fellowships in adult neurology, I'll hold this word now, and electroencephalography. Doc, when you come on, you can laugh at me. Thank you very much. Now, she is a board-certified neurologist, and Dr. Gayle served as a lecturer at UW's Faculty of Medicine. In 2003, Dr. Gayle completed dual fellowships in stroke and stroke research, solidifying her expertise as a board-certified stroke neurologist through the Canadian Stroke Consortium. Now, in addition to all her professional achievements, Dr. Gayle is a dedicated wife to Dr. Steve Lawrence, and together they have 5 children. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Francene Gayle.
Thank you very much. I give you a B plus for the pronunciation.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate it.
That's why we say EEG for short. So I would like to say, first of all, thank you to NCU for having such a platform. It's a very topical issue, screen time and the impact on the brain. I know that wherever you are, likely you're listening or watching or relating to this program through some form of media. And we're going to be asking, what are the different spectrum of screens that interface with us on an everyday basis? And what is the neuroanatomy of learning? And when we are interfacing with our screens, what's really happening with our brain? And if we do too much, what's happening with regards to our brain function? And if we do this over the long term, are there any concerns that we really should have? And is there more to the question? Should we be asking other things outside of just screen time? And so let's briefly look at the neuroanatomy of neurodevelopment. Now, the greatest respect that I have in terms of teachers are for early childhood educators, because the most important years of our lives when it comes to learning and brain development are the first 5 to 7 years, and in particular, the first 4 years of life. That is when we have the highest sensitivity to acquire new information, and we have the highest increase in brain volume, the highest increase in brain density, and we are said to be neuroplastic. And we learn predominantly from peer social interaction, particularly with our parents when we are at home, and then when we go into the school environment. And this becomes extremely important when we compare, look at the complexity of our brain in comparison to that of a rat. A completely different level of complexity. And the majority of all of this volume, all of these neurons, all of these synapses, we're learning all of these terms. So the other name for our brain cells are neurons. And the way that our brain cells make contact with neighboring brain cells are called synapses. All of these complexities, the majority of it occurs within the first 4 years of life. Extremely important periods, and it's important to remember that. So this is what a close-up of our neurons look like. And all of these little tendrils that are reaching out to touch neighboring neurons reach to another brain cell and connect through what is called a synapse. We're going to take a closer look at a synapse, and you can see it's a nerve cell approaching a nerve cell. And electrical currents flow from one nerve cell down and cross through chemical movements into another nerve cell. And the rule is nerve cells that fire together, wire together. And so the more an electrical pathway is created, the more active it is, the stronger that linkage becomes. The less electrical activity that goes down that pathway, the more out of sync it is, and you lose those links. And that is important to remember. So the more nerve cells fire together, the closer they wire together. The more out of sync they are, they lose their link. And let's see why we have to remember that. That is called synaptic pruning, when nerve cells lose their link because they are no longer in sync. All right. Now, this is how fearfully and how wonderfully we are made. For all those individuals who were ever told that they have a big forehead, like I was, embrace it. It's because you have a wonderful frontal lobe, this red area here. And that frontal lobe allows you to solve problems. It gives you restraint. It allows you to obey rules and regulations and to think through processes and organize yourselves, and gives you good judgment. Your temporal lobe, which is this yellow area here, is important for hearing and learning and for managing your emotions. The blue area here is also important for language. Talk to me, sing to me, read to me, listen to me. Language and touch, calculations and math. And finally, at the back of the brain, the green section is responsible for our visual processes. When I see something, you actually think that it's your eyes that are telling you what you're looking at? No, no, no. The signal goes all the way to your brain, at the back of your brain, your occipital lobe. And it's the occipital lobe that tells you, oh, I'm actually seeing a tree, I'm seeing a bird. That is called visual processing. And so all of those complex areas develop from in the womb all the way up to the first 5 years of life maximally. And as we get into teens, if we do not wire together, they become pruned. And that pruning can be exaggerated in various conditions, which are oftentimes neurodegenerative conditions. But let's find out whether excess screen time is one such environment in which pruning can occur. So, what happens when we are interacting with screens? Well, if I'm in a room with my friends and we're talking face to face, all of the interactions result in excitation in 9 or more areas across the brain, on both sides of my brain. And those areas are frontal lobes, temporal lobes, and even the occipital lobe gets activated because I'm seeing so many things. I'm hearing, I'm understanding what's happening. Now, in the real world, we get 3-dimensional information, and it is in a context, and it's happening in a longitudinal framework from a start to a finish. And it's very interactive because you are right there face to face interacting with the process. On a flat screen, depending on the quality of what you're looking at, all you may be seeing is a fleeting, very passive scrolling mechanism, which may or may not engage with 1 or 2 areas of your brain. Also, if you spend time scrolling passively along for 2 or more hours over a protracted period of time, studies have shown that we see reduced frontal lobe development, which may impact your ability to lay down memory, your ability to manage your emotions, including impulse control, because remember, your frontal lobe allows you to obey rules and regulations. It allows you to critically think, and it also allows you to socialize appropriately. Now, when you're watching a TikTok video, for example, or a YouTube video, you're getting a lot of positive feedback. You're constantly laughing. Your reward centers are going off, and you are constantly getting thrill after thrill after thrill, which is an overload of your reward center. And in your brain, a chemical keeps being released called dopamine, which is one of the most addictive neurochemical known to man. And so that constant stream of dopamine can quickly become an individual's drug. Now, over time, imagine way back in the 70s, only the very wealthy may have owned a television and may have only have accessed it in school beyond age 4. But now the average 4-month-old starts to be exposed to media. In addition to that, since the COVID-19 pandemic, the majority of early childhood into teenage aged individuals have 6 hours or more of screen time per day. And I want you to understand, when we talk about neurodevelopment, we're looking at cognition, language, social and behavioral development. So let's break that up a little. Under cognition, it is your ability to pay attention, executive function, which includes planning. There is learning and memory, language, motor skills, as well as social skills. And there is one landmark study that was done in Canada that already has documented that if you have long-lasting excessive screen exposure, there is a decline in your cognitive function that, as long as an individual is exposed as early as 2 years of age, that this decline in cognition can be picked up even in the 4th grade in terms of decreased literacy and decreased math proficiency. So let's give some examples of what that decline in cognitive development can be. In some instances, it may be delayed learning milestones, difficulty with problem-solving skills, a delay in language acquisition, because remember, the majority of language is imitation, and imitation is interpersonal interaction between baby, toddler, caregivers. And all of that, the majority of that happens in the home between offspring, siblings, and parents. Another significant impact is attention span, the inability to focus. TikTok has single-handedly shifted the attention span from hours to 30 seconds. Multitasking has now moved from being able to maintain the concentration to complete multiple tasks to simply switching between multiple 30-second videos. Difficulty in retaining memory because all we are doing is observing fleeting videos purely for entertainment, not necessarily for learning. There is also, because of that dopamine constant dripping, there is also neuropsychiatric consequences. These can include cognitive salience, meaning even when an individual is in the school environment or maybe at work, they are thinking of the next opportunity that they will get to be on the internet. Mood may actually be offset by rushing to the internet or rushing to social media, rushing to YouTube to get a buzz in order to lift your mood. Tolerance means, okay, if I watch a 30-minute video, I still might not feel good. So tomorrow I may need to watch 1 hour or maybe 2 hours in order to feel as good as I felt the day before. And it gets worse. Conflict, whether it is having scarce access to social media options, scarce access to laptops for learning, or it may very well be having to choose between doing homework versus watching entertaining videos or movies. Withdrawal can be feeling very irritable when you no longer have access to the media that you wish. And this may actually become a full-blown addiction. Unfortunately, because of MRIs, and we have highly sensitive MRIs, we are seeing atrophy or shrinkage in some of the frontal lobes and even the temporal lobes of individuals who are long-term gamers. Because, again, there is a reduction in the active, purposeful engagement of all of the 9 or more domains that are possible when we have face-to-face interactions versus when you are playing a game that becomes more instinctive, where you no longer need to actually have conscious decision making. It is now second. It's now pretty much a reflex as opposed to requiring higher mental function. And that is causing a loss of the brain volume that was acquired in the first 5 to 7 years of life. We're seeing physical health impact with obesity. People are stuck before the computer, not moving. Sleep disturbances because of the blue light that's emitted from computer screens, disrupting the normal sleep-wake cycle. And poor posture because, of course, you are stuck, crouched over, neck pushed forward for hours on end, or oftentimes lying down in awkward positions in order to swipe to the left or swipe to the right. But are we asking the right questions? Should we be going back to a simpler time where we knew that under no circumstance a 2-year-old should be given a cell phone just to quiet them? It is the understanding that if you are less than 2 years old, the important issue is that an adult must be with you, stimulating you, speaking to you, singing to you, reading to you, so that you acquire all of the language, the numeracy, the social skills, because that is the highest possibility, the highest capacity that you can acquire all of those learning points. It's the highest period of learning possible. Individuals are often seen with a fussing child, giving them a cell phone. That should not be. If you wish to give your child the possibility of a learning video, then it has to be a high quality program where there are defined interaction points and the parent or the caregiver actually has to sit with the child and interpret and actually co-watch and co-relate to the child during the entire duration of the video. For the 2 to 5 year olds, you have to limit screen use to no more than an hour per day. Again, motor skills, social skills, reading, writing, arithmetic in face-to-face environments are the the ideal environments for stimulating the neurogenesis and the synaptogenesis that are required. Likewise for the 5 and older, and even all the way to the teens, the danger continues, especially because they wish to be independent and they can get into all sorts of media use challenges, human trafficking concerns, all sorts of addictive tendencies. And so balancing the desire for independence with the desire for safety is important in this age group. Now, you may say to me, Dr. Gayle, this is the era of virtual reality. This is the era where all schools are going online. You have to ensure that the programs are high quality. And by high quality, they have to be interactive. They still require periods of rest in between that allows the brain to consolidate what they have been exposed to. And they still require the human face-to-face contact to ensure that the appropriate learning endpoint has been achieved. Thank you very much for your time.
Wow, that was deep. I was learning so much, and I got so caught up in the presentation, and it is just amazing, learning about the fact that your brain makes and breaks electrical signals and connections, and to get a synopsis of that, to talk about the synapses. Michael, what did you learn today? I'm really excited about this presentation.
Well, neuroplasticity, that was that first word that kind of jumped out to me as our doctor was talking about our capacity for learning. Also, something that I found quite interesting was when she said, when we look at things, we are so convinced that it is our eyes that tells us what we're looking at.
No.
It's actually our brain is what interprets what we're looking at. I have those 2 points written down because I was like, wow, those jumped out to me. Interesting.
And, you know what I think many people might not even pause to think about that she brought out was the fact that when you get so excited by these 30-second videos and you are constantly being rewarded, your pleasure senses are rewarded, what it does is that it makes everything else in life boring. So we find that children and adults, we can't even pause to wait for 5 minutes to get up to a counter to get something done anymore, because we're accustomed to everything that's happening within 30 seconds. And our pleasure senses are rewarded, yes.
Attention span gets affected. I can remember as a youngster walking past a television at my home. Maybe there is a simple cartoon, a short, them short ones, Inspector, Pink Panther, something like that.
Yes.
And I'm walking through the living room, passing the TV, and I notice what's happening. I have things in my hand, they're heavy. And for some reason, I just kind of zone out. Is when the cartoon finished, I realized, oh wait, I have a heavy thing in my hand. Let me go where I'm going. So sometimes that happens. We get totally zoned into the screens. I would miss out on some important things in everyday life.
And sadly, this leads to addiction, and it is not something that people will be so willing to admit or quick to admit. And even in answering the questions, I'm pretty sure that some people paused before they put their honest answers there because it came home to you that you are somewhat addicted to your screens.
Mr. Kelly, quickly before you move on, let me just remind those who are listening on air, those who are watching on YouTube, those who are in that special registration link. If you have your questions, leave your questions in the chat. Our producers are collating those questions, and in a little bit we'll be having question and answer segments. If you're listening on air, WhatsApp is fine. I'm monitoring our WhatsApp line. I'm looking forward to some of your questions later.
All right, thank you so much, Michael. And so we go to a break. When we come back, well, there's so much more to learn. If you think you were learning a lot in the first segment, just you wait until after the break.
When I was at NCU, I was not financially wise. I partied a lot, I spent unnecessarily, and I did this to keep up with my friends who could afford it. I could not, and so I suffered. There were days and nights where I was hungry and I had to do without. Financial responsibility comes with making priorities, comes with living within your means. Investment over brothing. Be responsible.
Madam Harriet, so we have been tracking your online activities, and it has come to our attention that you're a fan of bullying.
Imagine posting a message on social media years ago, only for it to be the one thing affecting your chances of landing that dream job. Your digital footprint is permanent. Every post, every comment, every message is stored.
Unfortunately, we won't be able to give you this position.
It is your responsibility to be ethical social media users, so be responsible.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dale. Welcome to Let's Talk Health. In fact, I'm thrilled to bring you Let's Talk Health. We're very excited to have you know that Let's Talk Health is evolving. What do I mean? Now you not only get to hear us, but you get to see us as well. Yes, so join us, won't you? Every first Tuesday of every month, you can tune in on YouTube or via NCU TV Jamaica, or you can watch us on the Flow TV channels, 617 or 188. Join us as we chart the path to a healthier you, right here on Let's Talk Health. Join us, won't you?
Thank you so much and welcome back. And so far we learned so much about the brain and the effects of screen time on the brain. And of course, you know, the brain is the center of your thoughts, and your habits are formed by your thoughts and your actions. Now we're going to have a little chat, and we're going to hear now who are the persons who will be on this esteemed panel.
Discussion time, panel discussion time. Let us introduce those who will be on our panel this afternoon. This evening? Yeah. Firstly, Ms. Janelle McLean. Now, she is a digital marketing innovator and the driving force behind Easy Advertising Management Limited, a leading agency known for delivering transformative digital solutions. Ms. McLean holds a bachelor's degree in marketing and is currently pursuing a master's in marketing and data analytics at the University of the West Indies, Mona. Now, her expertise spans digital strategy development, brand management, and also data-driven marketing insights. In addition to her role as CEO of the company, she is also a part-time lecturer and trainer, helping entrepreneurs across the Caribbean to embrace the digital transformation. Interesting. Digital sounds like a lot of screens. Will she advocate for more screen use or not? We're going to find out. Next up, also on with us is Dr. Orlean Brown Earl, a distinguished psychologist, educator, and also family therapist. With a career that spans both the United States and the Caribbean, Dr. Brown Earl holds degrees from the Michael Teachers College, the University of the West Indies, and also Howard University, where she gained her doctorate in educational psychology. Currently, she serves as a professor of psychology at the Northern Caribbean University. Dr. Brown Earl's work in child psychology, family therapy, and trauma counseling has been instrumental in improving the lives of others. And finally, Dr. Curtis A. Price is a consultant pediatrician and current president of the Pediatric Association of Jamaica. Now, he brings a wealth of expertise to today's discussion. He holds a bachelor's degree in biochemistry and zoology, as well as a doctor of medicine in pediatrics. Dr. Price practices at both the Maypen Hospital and also his private practice, Gilead Pediatrics. He has been a tireless practitioner in this area, and he is a tireless advocate for the health and the well-being of our Jamaican children and also their clinical needs. Our panel boasts a wealth of experience and expertise, and we're thrilled to have them, this dynamic group, joining us for our workshop today. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome them, and remember, have your questions ready.
Thank you so much, Michael, and we say good afternoon and welcome to our panelists. And, you know, I think a very good place for us to start is to have each of you, well, in the order you were introduced, share with us, from your perspective, how screen time is affecting children and families in today's society.
Introduce first.
Yes.
I'm Janelle McLean, the digital marketing specialist. So from my perspective, being a contributor where content is concerned online, I do believe having a balance where you have personal interaction time and screen time. So setting a clear balance for your children is essential, because time really can fly by when they have, whether it's a tablet, you realize it's a full day of Miss Rachel or one of those, content that the children like, and now it has affected them in terms of being able to take up a book, coloring. These days, I don't see children actually doing activities in coloring book, those cognitive skills, development activities. So, and that also affects them going into, in terms of school, where development, holding a pencil is concerned, because everyone is, that scrolling now. Some of the children, I realize, even with my daughter, the ability to hold a pen or pencil for an extended period of time, it is quite weak. So I do believe it affects them, not just from a mental perspective, but from a physical.
Ms. McLean, Dr. Brown Earl.
Yes, and what we also recognize is that as someone who does the psychoeducational assessments and behavioral assessments of children, we realize that especially for the behavioral assessment, when you ask those social skills questions, the attitude for instant gratification is there. But that's what they're learning from the 30-second videos, okay? And we learned earlier about the dopamine and so on. Then, of course, when we're assessing, so the parents will say, oh, yes, my child knows a triangle. And then you give them a picture of a triangle just on a piece of paper, they're clueless. All right? You give them a 3-dimensional triangle, they don't know what that is. So these are the kinds of issues that we're having when we're assessing the children. And then, of course, just basic general applications. You mentioned fine motor skills versus gross motor skills. Those are serious, serious issues. How is that going to impact the child further on? And before Dr. Price comes, the whole issue of just general problem solving. Because if the device is going to tell you the answer in the next 30 seconds, why is your brain going to bother to try? Okay? And so you'll hear, oh, my child can read, my child can identify. But we're finding that they're not able to say the alphabet without a musical background. Okay? They're not able to count numbers without a musical background. And these are serious issues because real life doesn't have this, in the music in the background. So much to talk about. I'm sure more we'll talk about things.
Yes. Dr. Price? All right, not sure what.
All right.
Okay, there we are.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. So personally, I refer to screen time as the hidden pandemic. The screen is affecting children, in significant ways that, we can only imagine. The fact of the matter is that it's affecting every single aspect of a child's life, not just the physical. Dr. Gayle, did an excellent presentation on how it affects the brain being, but most important, to me is the spiritual aspect of screen time, how it impacts a child's life. So it impacts the child's life significantly in every single aspect of their being.
Right. Thank you so much for that. And, Dr. Price, I think I want to come right back to you. You're a consultant pediatrician. What are some of the physical and developmental effects of excessive screen time on children that you have observed in practice? I know Dr. Brown Earl touched on a few things, but what are some of those that you have observed that you see is going to carry through to the next generation?
All right. So Dr. Gayle touched on a couple of these. I did a presentation on screen time some time ago, and we're listing the effects of screen time on a child, and I think we got to 22, and we're still adding. We talk about the physical. We have children coming into office with serious back problems, serious musculoskeletal issues. A lot of them, are subjected to MRI scans, X-rays, radiation, and nothing, right? I remember my mother came in with a child and we just couldn't figure out what was happening to this child. And then one day he did a lot of investigation. The mother came in and said, look here, I know what is wrong with this child, because she went into his room and saw this child in this very awkward position on his screen for hours. It's affecting their eyes, their vision. A lot of them are becoming myopic. I'm in the office and, you're doing the medicals that you used to do many years ago, and the children are fine. There are so many of these children, with visual problems. Not to mention, we talk about autism. We're seeing a lot of them coming in what we call virtual autism. It's not that they have autism, but because of this excessive screen time exposure, these children are almost totally disconnected from, social interactions, and a lot of others that, I'm sure we can talk about further.
Thank you so much. Dr. Brown Earl, can you explain further how screen time affects learning and cognitive development in children, and looking also at how they transfer skills from screen to real life? What are some of the issues we're seeing with that?
Okay, so can you imagine an English class where the teacher is saying, okay, now we're going to write a paragraph about so and so. And these children have outside of possibly a teacher who is insistent on it, because a lot of the activities that they'll do will be multiple choice type activities, right? And so we'll find that they're not even able now to write a 4-sentence or a 5-sentence paragraph. So they reach high school and the high school teachers are so frustrated, they have to be teaching grade 4 and grade 5 information again. Can you just imagine how frustrating that is? When you have a curriculum to complete for the year? And think about it now. Doc talked about the virtual autism. You know, one of the features of autism is that the children are not speaking. Okay? That's one of the easier identifying marks. But does a child need to speak if they're glued in front of their device for 3 or 4 hours? They don't need to share, to converse, to communicate. And so these are some of the issues now. So when they're at school and the teachers are asking questions, their basic communication skills are not there. And it's causing a serious problem. And then the issues now is that you'll hear mommy, daddy, or caregiver saying, oh, she's bright, she can. But one of the issues that we keep forgetting at a part of being intelligent is the ability to communicate effectively. And so can you just imagine now when they're in front of the educational psychologist who has but an hour or 2 hours or so on to ask questions, to have them put things together, put puzzles together and activities together. And they just don't bother to attempt because they're so used to putting things together on a screen, filling in the thing on the screen. And remember now, you know, when you do it on the screen, if it doesn't fit, what happens? It just bounces back and says no. But for the evaluation, you're trying to engage them to say, okay, why did you put it there? Why did you put the circle in the square? That kind of a thing. They're not engaging. And so it's causing serious problems as we try to evaluate to determine what really is happening here with this child. Is it a specific learning disability or is it autism? So these are some of the challenges that we have.
Right, we're seeing that in schools, but then how about family dynamics and the way communication takes place within families?
So if you have a child that is stuck in front of a screen all the time and they don't need to talk with you and to explain things to you, when the time comes for you to say, why did you do that? They're completely unable to draw an inference. They don't understand the concept of why, because they don't need to understand the concept of why, because these activities don't teach them to think like that. And so parents are going to get angrier because you're not talking. But the child never needed to talk before until there was a problem. And so basic communication skills are definitely impacted, and that causes even more stressors within the families.
Okay. And, Ms. McLean, Janelle McLean, social media and apps are designed to keep users engaged. And they are done in such a way that you really keep people engaged and sometimes disconnected from real life. Can you explain how these platforms are designed to be addictive and how, by understanding this, we can make healthier choices?
Okay. All right. So the big word that, makes all of this work is called algorithms. So the algorithms are basically what defines what you see, what you continue to see. And the algorithm basically tracks behavior. So if you find yourself seeing a particular subject matter content constantly on your feed, it is based on maybe you have done a prior search or something you came across and you spent quite a bit of time looking at this type of content. So you'll find yourself in a situation where your feeds are curated in a way to keep you hooked. So that is why we'll find a lot of teens being hooked on certain conspiracy theories, and they're trapped in a whole tunnel and they don't escape from this type of content. And where positive content are online, they may be exposed to the more negative, because the negative ones typically get more interactions, more likes, more comments, and hence the algorithm is going to push it to more people to get more shares, to get more reaction. So as marketers, we try to create content that is engaging, that craves the likes, the share, the comments. So we go for the short, the visual, connected content, but there is some negativity where the short form, where it interferes with, how people process information, but there is still value in creating longer format content from my perspective.
No, okay. And how about tools that will help to control or to help us monitor the amount of time that we spend and the amount of time our children spend?
Okay. All right. So there are applications that can help you monitor your screen time. For Apple devices, they have screen time blocking. For example, if you want to spend 6 hours on screen, after that 6 hours have elapsed, you're able to see a notification. Okay, you have elapsed your time. There are other platforms that basically shut down the device. For example, parents want to manage and basically monitor their children's usage. They're able to set this so you have platforms. Once you go in your settings, most of the devices, they would have come with the monitoring application, but then there are more advanced platforms that you may have to pay for. So once you go into your app stores, you can search for screen time monitoring and you see a lot of options there. Also, we can schedule specific social media usage time. As adults, we know when to take up our phones and, time to put it aside when it's family time or work time.
Yes, and I know that sometimes we as parents are not the best examples, but when it comes to our children, Dr. Price, if you were to make a recommendation to say how much screen time we should allow our children on a daily basis, what would you say? What would you share with us?
Yes, I mean, that's an excellent question. The fact of the matter is that a good rule is the 0-1-2 rule. And I think that's something easy to remember. So a child who is less than 2 is really not supposed to have any screen time. So under 2, we have a lot of parents coming in and say, oh, my 4-month-old is watching the TV, and it's so amazing. It's not recommended, that a child under 2 be exposed to, screen time. And be aware of the secondary exposure to screen. So a child who is in a room that the television or whatever is on and is playing in the background is still being exposed to the screen and will have similar effect. 1 hour for children 2 up to the teenage years and over to maximum 2 hours. So that's the rule of thumb with respect to hours. But as we said earlier, even for those times, break them down into, the segments, make sure that they're quality time. The parent is sitting with the child, explaining, interacting, that sort of thing. Make it a very interactive sort of 1 hour. And as I said, 20 minutes and that sort of thing. So those are some of the basic recommendations for screen time. Get out, parents, get out in the open, interact with your child, read to your child. I was talking to somebody about, read to them, that we used to do in the old time days, and that sort of thing.
Wow. I'm thinking, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, it sounds to me like screen time has become the new smoking. And, with even the second-hand effects
exactly.
coming out. Right. Dr. Brown Earl, the differences in how kids transfer skills from screens to real life. You mentioned the triangle and so on. But there are some even more serious implications. Can you just bring us up to speed on that?
All right, so let's talk about in an average 2-bedroom house where your child is texting you to say they want something or they want to do something. I mean, I hear parents and they're fascinated and it's cute and it's quaint. It is not. So we have some major communication issues here. Talking about TikTok, one of my favorite TikToks is this. The one that the mom changes the password and says, okay, when the laundry is done, when the dishes are done, when the homework is done. So it goes back to Miss McLean. We have to choose to parent. we have to choose to be appropriate caregivers. The behavior is not going to get better if we don't do that. You know, you heard Dr. Gayle talk about the whole thing about the activation of the brain. Who doesn't want their child to use all of that beautiful brain that God has given them? So parents have to make that serious decision that I am going to do the things that are necessary for my child to maximize their potential. Because you know what's going to happen, right? You're going to have some very smart children who will not be achievers. And then you'll have some children whose parents are going to invest the time and effort into limiting the screen time, strengthening the social skills, and those are the ones who are going to be the achievers. So these are some serious issues that we need to make up our minds to do as parents and caregivers.
Thank you so much for that. And you said something, you hinted at something a while ago, because I think that one of the problems is that because we live in such a busy society, many times the screen becomes the babysitter. All right, so I want to get from all panelists at this point, if there is one thing, one takeaway or a piece of advice that you would want to give. It may be something that was mentioned earlier that you want to repeat, or it could be something that was not said, but it's something you want to leave our viewers with. And this would relate to managing screen time and its impact on children and families. What would that one word be? Let's go back to Dr. Curtis Price.
I would recommend that families sit together and plan a screen time situation for their household, right? Get the children involved, get everybody involved, sit and make a decision about, screen time exposure, create spaces where screens are not allowed. So not allowed at the dining table, take it out of the bedroom. And importantly, parents need to, take the handle on the parenting. Children can't parent themselves. They need to be guided. So take the parenting, make it fun, make life fun for the children. Suicide rate is extremely high in children who are exposed to excessive screen time. We're really hurting and damaging children both now and in the long term by exposing them to excessive, screen time.
Thank you so much for that. And we're all about saving lives. Ms. McLean?
Yes, just my point to end with is basically to be mindful and keep asking yourself in any situation, when was the last time I looked at my phone? Having that conscious question, it will basically help you to understand, okay, do I have a problem? Do I need to maintain balance and define what your balance is? Because yes, there's a negativity towards screen time, but still there are some positives. So just having a balance and be mindful.
All right, thank you so much. Dr. Arlene Brown-Earl.
Parents, friends, everyone, do you want your child to be a critical thinker? If you want your child to be a critical thinker, you cannot have your child in love with their screens. So we have to do what Dr. Price has said. We have to take in mind what Dr. Gayle has shared about the brain and how God has made this beautiful thing in our heads that we are to use wisely. The power lies within us. Let's change our behavior so our children will be the best critical thinkers that we can have around.
And I noticed that we're focusing a lot on children, but also, let's not forget that we as adults, we need to be conscious of what we're doing too, because this thing, it affects productivity, it affects personal relationships. There have been broken marriages and other relationships as a result of too much screen time and not managing screen time well. We want to thank you so much, Janelle McLean, Dr. Arlene Brown-Earl, and Dr. Curtis Price for sharing with us this afternoon. And as we focus on screen time, something that sometimes we don't even think about, but we are all caught up and we're all too busy sometimes just staring at our screens. Thank you so much. And we have indeed learned a lot, and we will be looking back at some of what we've learned, and there will be some questions coming up.
The only difference between an action and a habit is one decision. Each drop of alcohol that you consume pushes you one step closer to becoming an alcohol abuser. Every sip, every cup will one day lead to self-destruction. Take control of your habits. Say no to alcohol.
Stay away from the sucking. You want to put me in trouble? Go and play with your toys.
Children should stay away from sharp objects and electrical outlets in the home. Protect our children and always remember,
your safety comes first.
A message brought to you by the Department of Communication Studies.
The following is a public service announcement from the Department of Communication Studies. Each year, hundreds of pedestrians are injured or killed on our roadways. Put away all distractions, including your cell phone, while using the roadway. Your safety is your responsibility. Pay attention. This can save your life.
The NCU Media Group and the Department of Communication Studies at Northern Caribbean University brings you The Lunch Bag, a program to leave you full with goodies such as Money Matters, Tiny Bites, healthy snacks, a special film feature, and of course, the main course. This 30-minute delight will leave you wanting more. It's The Lunch Bag, every last Friday on the YouTube channel NCU TV Jamaica at midday. Come hungry and leave fully satisfied.
The only difference between an action and a habit is one decision. Each drop of alcohol that you consume pushes you one step closer to becoming an alcohol abuser. Every sip, every cup will one day lead to self-destruction. Take control of your habits. Say no to alcohol.
When I was at NCU, I was not financially wise. I partied a lot, I spent unnecessarily, and I did this to keep up with my friends who could afford it. I could not, and so I suffered. There were days and nights where I was hungry, and I had to do without. Financial responsibility comes with making priorities, comes with living within your means. Investment over braffing. Be responsible.
Thank you so much. Welcome back. Yes, it's Screenshot, and we're focusing on screen time, managing your digital life, managing your screen time. And we have a quiz for you. You heard about it earlier on. Well, here we go. So, are you ready? I want to know that you're all logged in and you have your screens up. Your questions will be coming onto the screen. So, let's see what's happening over here in 3, 2, 1. All right, my question. Okay, so you're seeing the questions, and oh my goodness, it looks like I'm seeing Oh, Maxine Anderson is in the lead, and Baby Boomer is right behind. Denise Alexander coming up, and we are now at wow, 75% class accuracy. Now, that's a good sign. It shows that your Baby Boomer just overtook Maxine. Well, Maxine just regained her top position. And Clover Biza in third. Angelia Johnson in second. Baby Boomer taking back second position. Sounds like I'm, doing racing today. Maxine again taking the lead on her birthday. Yes. Ryan McCullough overtaking Maxine. 81% class accuracy. It says to me that you have been learning. You were learning a lot, and you have absorbed what you have learned. They just knocked Maxine way down to somewhere probably around fifth. Let's see, Pearline Bignell in second, Ryan McCullough in first, Angelia Johnson in third, and we're drawing close to the end. And yes, you're wondering what the questions are or what the questions were. Well, you find out in a little bit. Denise Alexander, I see you pushing all the way back up into second, getting knocked back to position number 4. Angelia coming up. Ryan McCullough in the lead with 9,930 points, followed by Pearline Bignell. And wow, this is an interesting leaderboard right here. Where is Maxine? Looks like one question probably took you out of the lead. Ryan McCullough getting all 10 correct. And oh, wait a minute, who is that? Remiage. Remiage in first position. Again, Michael told you that you need accuracy. Yes, accuracy is important, but also you may get all the questions right, and at the same time, you end up in third or fourth or fifth. All right, wait a minute. Let's see. All right, so we're going to end the game and look at our winners. Remiage in, I don't know how to call your name. You better help me. Right, in first position. In second, we have Ryan McCullough. And in third, Pearline Bignell. And if you look at the board, you will see what I was talking about. What Michael was explaining earlier on with questions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you notice, many of the players got all the answers correct. However, based on the timing, how quickly you posted the answer. First question, what is considered the maximum recommended screen time per day for children aged 2 to 5 years? The correct answer, 1 hour per day, no more. True or false, blue light emitted from screens can interfere with sleep patterns? True. Which app feature can help you track and limit your daily screen time? And there were a number, focus no mode, do not disturb, screen time, or digital well-being. And the fourth answer was all of the above, which is the correct answer. 22 players got that right. Which of the following is a common symptom of digital eye strain? Headaches, increased energy, improved focus, and better sleep? Well, headaches. 36 players got that right. What is a recommended practice to reduce eye strain when using screens for extended periods? Taking regular breaks. And we are told that when you take the break, look at something far away. So, look at the mountains. Right? What is the potential impact of excessive screen time on mental health? 33 players said increased anxiety, and they were correct. So far, all the questions, 34 players got this right, and there were 34 players on the game. True or false, taking breaks from screens can help improve overall productivity. Everybody got that right. And where are we? Are we at question 10? Oh, what behavioral changes might be observed in children who spend too much time on screens? The correct answer, reduced attention span and social withdrawal. And we heard about that in the presentation earlier on. True or false, children are more susceptible to the effects of excessive screen time than adults. True. And I know you might be thinking, yes, adults are also as susceptible, but yes, children, it's worse on them. And we heard why earlier on. What part of the brain is most affected by screen addiction? the prefrontal cortex, and that is the decision-making part of the brain. You don't want to be playing around with that. And so we had 21 players getting that right and only 3 getting that wrong. And the 3 players said the cerebellum. Interesting. All right. Thank you so much. And we want to say thanks to everyone who played the game. For those who tried to get on and couldn't, well, our apologies. And we look forward to you doing that next time. All right. Now, let's see what's happening. It's now time for our first presentation. Let's see. No, actually, I am trying to find out. Our question and answer segment is coming up in a little bit, but we want to say thanks again. Look at the board, and you will see that all the way down to position number 9, everybody got all questions right. But based on the timing, that was where we had the fallout. The persons who entered their answers, not incorrectly, but slowly lost some points for that. Want to say thanks to our sponsor, the Ministry of Labor and Social Security Social Pension Program, caring for elderly. That's our sponsor of Screenshot. Yes, congratulations again to all the participants. Let's see what's happening on YouTube, what's happening on Zoom. Michael, Tejel, where are you? Text your questions. Sir. Yes, text your questions in. Go ahead, Michael.
Okay. Now, Dr. Curtis, I see a question coming through for you. And guys, I wish I could have asked this question for you right before the quiz, because it looks like something that was portrayed in the quiz. Dr. Curtis, could you run through those age and screen time correlation that you said earlier, please? All right. If Dr. Curtis is not here and not ready, I
think he's there
for our other 2 presenters. But yeah, Dr. Curtis, go ahead.
Right. So I'm assuming you are asking about the time, the recommended time that the number of hours that is recommended. So the rule of thumb is that 0, 1, 2 rule. You're counting 0, 1, 2. So for under 2, we don't recommend screen time for toddlers, right? For children under 2. In general, no screen time is recommended for that age group. For 2 years up to the teenagers, maximum an hour for the day, and then over that time it's 2 hours. Okay, and it doesn't mean that you sit on the screen for the full hour. You break it into portions, and it must be high quality screen time, as Dr. Gayle explained earlier.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much for running through that for us. And interestingly, my next question that I'm seeing here kind of follows along with that. Dr. Orlin Brown Earl. Now listen to how this one is phrased. Screens help. This is what this parent and their personal testimonial. Screens help. Help our little baby know sign language, foreign language, and also learning the alphabet and singing along. Plus, it helps to calm the baby down. So how you saying screens don't help?
Oh, we never said screens don't help. Right? No one on the platform tonight has said that. What we're saying is that what we're seeing when they come in for the assessments. So you see what will happen, a child is doing something repetitively.
Yes.
Okay? So your child is learning 10 words in Japanese. And they're doing this over and over again for 40, 50 days. Of course, they're going to be able to do it. But let's have them not apply to a real world situation. Will they be able to? And that's what we're talking about. We're finding that the children, they can identify. You know what? Let me say something. How many different types of shows do they watch? They watch 5 or so of the same cartoons over and over and over and over again. So if you were to assess them based on those cartoons, fine, you know. But let's just put it on paper. Okay? Then let's see what really happens. So, you know, our wonderful parents come in and my child can. And yes, they can. We're not saying they can't. What we do find is that when they come in, when they're going to school at 6 years old or they're 4 years old, and the teachers are saying, but this child is not able to do so and so, which the parents said, we're having a challenge here. And which is why they send the children to Dr. Price's office to be assessed. Because as much as a child can repeat a lot of the things over and over again, when it comes to critical thinking about the same concepts, or when it comes to applying it to another context, there is a challenge or there is an issue.
Okay. You're saying we must find a way to relate these things even to the day-to-day things, real life. Good point there for it. Now, now catch this one. This is for Miss McLean. It's a simple question, but they're saying, as a marketer, are you saying once and for all, screens, good or bad?
I'm going to be the devil's advocate. So, for me, good, and it boils down to having a balance. Just balance, that's it. So, because screen, it does give, you know, the positive, whether it is from a personal perspective, where for some people it helps them to relax, or just their, you know, for their social, it's their social enjoyment, or for business and other developmental practices. There is good in it.
Dr. Gayle, are you still on? I know you were on with us earlier. A question here, how can we train our brains to overcome the screen time addiction?
Oh, all right. Well, the first step is to actually recognize that you have a problem. So if you are unable to comfortably do without, and you have some little clues. So if you're at work and you are unable to concentrate, if you're at school and you're dying to go to the break in order to check your phone, if you are in university or, you know, even in kindergarten and you're unconsolable without a media device, those are some of the signs that you have a challenge.
Yes.
And so you have to set goals for yourself. And one of the goals really is, number one, how long can I do without? Abstinence, a period of fasting.
Yes.
The other goal that you set for yourself is an assessment of your attention span. The 30-second attention span really is killing the classroom. It's killing the workplace. It's seeping into all of our existence. And so being mindful of when you move off task. And I want to stress something else too. There is an upsurge in the diagnosis of ADHD in adults. Yes, there are a significant number of adults who may not have been diagnosed in childhood with ADHD, but quite a fair amount of it is actually related to screen time derived hyperactivity and distractibility.
Yes.
And so, you know, just being mindful of yourself and setting those goals and ensuring that you continue to extend your periods of fasting until you are within the required length of time for your age group. That is that is what I would do. And if you see that you're unable to do that on your own, you need to get help.
Interesting. I like that you said first we need to be able to acknowledge that we have a problem. And based on the quiz we did right at the very start, I must say, good evening to everybody. Hi, I'm Michael, and I'm an addict. That's what it looks like. You have any questions over there, Arnold?
Oh boy. I think
we love you, and you're not alone.
Yes, I think if we start, then we would have a confessional going on right here. So, yes, just want to, as you mentioned the quiz earlier on, we have prizes for position number 1, 2, and 3. So, folks who placed first, second, and third, please send us an email. Congratulations to you. Send us an email, producers@ncu.edu.jm. Again, producers@ncu.edu.jm, and we let you know how to collect your prizes. There were so many lessons, Michael, and there was so much to learn and so much to absorb, and not just to learn about what's happening with other people, but what's happening with ourselves. And I think what you said a while ago made it clear that you weren't sitting idly by.
I was paying attention. Also, I'm happy that our viewers and our listeners were paying attention. I'm seeing another question here, and I'm going to be throwing this one out to any one of our panelists who want to take this one on. Now, what are some practical brain exercises that we can do to help keep us mentally sharp?
Play the
I realize a
acronym
lot
game
of
on
the questions
Tuesdays.
were focused on our children, but this one sounds like somebody was saying, how can I stay mentally sharp?
Okay, I think this I love.
Mm-hmm.
So general terms. So the biggest thing that you can do to stay mentally sharp throughout your entire life is cardiovascular exercise.
Wow.
Right? Yes.
Interesting.
When you do cardiovascular exercise, you actually continue to stimulate a hormone within your brain that promotes not only vascular pathways, but keeps the growth of your synapses. It's brain neurotrophic factors. All right, so cardiovascular exercise. It's always challenging yourself to learn something new. So being mentally active. So you see that swiping and scrolling, Madam McLean? No, you have to challenge the brain to learn new things. So every year, get a learning plan as old as you are. What are you going to do different this year? I'm taking a course. I'm taking 2 courses. I'm learning about the different flowers that grow in Mandeville. All right? The third thing is controlling all of your chronic illnesses.
Yeah.
Okay? Which includes making sure that you're not overweight, controlling your hypertension, your diabetes, eating whole foods. One of the issues with our bodies is inflammation, and it's because of processed foods, right? We have to go back to eating whole foods. And there are certain vitamins and certain herbs that actually promote the same brain neurotropic factor that I was talking about. So omega-369 is one of the vitamin combinations that actually promote the health of your synapses. And there are other vitamins and minerals that can do that, but that is one of the top ones that you should do.
Yeah. I have one final question for
Michael,
panelists.
Yes.
Just before you go on, and I want Dr. Price to quickly add to this too. Rest.
Yes.
Yes.
You can talk about the rest of the children.
Yes.
I'm finding that the adults I have coming in for counseling, they're not resting. They're not resting. And rest is so important. A good mattress and going to your bed to sleep.
Yes.
Is important. Dr. Price, if you could touch on the rest in the children and all
Dr. Brown, that's exactly what I'd wanted to add, right? Because what Francene was basically delineating is a whole new start, holistic approach, to health, right? So we're talking about eating right. We're talking about, exercise and rest, because screen time is robbing children of rest. I have children on average going to bed midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. And we're talking about 2-year-old, and very young children in their room, and the parents are, boy, I can't do anything about it. He's on his tablet in his room, and he's 2 years old, right? So getting adequate rest. I mean, research has shown over and over again that individuals who are chronically deprived of rest, starting from childhood, are at increased risk of brain dysfunction. Alzheimer's is at a higher, you're at a higher risk of being diagnosed with Alzheimer's if you do not sleep, at the average recommended time. And sleep is not just the length of time. We're also talking about the quality of sleep. Some of us are sleeping, we're lying down, our eyes are closed, but we're really not getting quality sleep. This is really a holistic approach. You're putting your children at risk, by not monitoring, allowing them to sleep. In the old time days, as the sun goes down, people used to go to bed, right? That's the best time. And Jesus used to do it as well, right? If you think about Jesus' life, and sorry for, getting me off Dr. Earl Brown on this resting, but Jesus used to wake up very early in the morning, long before daylight. He went to bed early, right? So, rest is critical and crucial.
I liked how that is leading into this final question. All right, so somebody's saying, and by the way, I'm merging a couple questions. I have a 2-year-old and a 14-year-old. How can I stop them from, they're always on the phone. They're always on the tablet at night. And linking that to, how can we kind of extend our attention span? We have kind of been programmed and wired with the shortened attention span. What can we do to improve such?
I like how you said the program and the wiring, right? What I find with children, and I see them in the office, they come to the office, the parents literally kind of push the tablet, on them because they want them to keep quiet, and they don't want issues and stuff, and they break them into this habit. Most children, it's not a part of their being. It's not intrinsic for them to go on the tablet. You understand? Or go on whatever device. I mean, children naturally want to go and explore and climb a tree and drop down and throw a stone, and that sort of thing, right? But we kind of break them into that. Most of them that are on the tablet for hours and stuff, we'll break them into it. The fact of the matter is that we really have to do it because some of them are on the tablet for 6, 8, 12 hours, at a time. And we can't be unrealistic. So, break it down slowly, instead of the 6 hours, you can just dramatically or drastically just, no screen time after you have had them on it, for this prolonged period of time. Spend some time with them. Children actually appreciate time spent with their parents than on the screen. And I've spoken to children, and they said, Daddy won't come out and play with me. You understand? You spend some time with that child, some quality time in the outdoor, kick some ball, do that sort of thing. The children will appreciate, and they will adapt and adjust and give up their screen time, for the time spent, those quality time spent with their parents, so just the simple practical things, do it sequentially and slowly and gradually, and it will work out.
All right. Want to thank you so much. Thanks, Michael, and we want to say thanks to Tejel too, and to our listeners, and of course our viewers, our production team. and of course our guests, Dr. Gayle, Dr. Price, Dr. Brown Earl, and Ms. McLean. Thank you for the wisdom that you brought today. And I'm sure that we will take that as we move ahead. As for me, in terms of trying to keep my brain active and to ensure that I exercise it, I am taking, Michael, one of the words I'm learning today, electroencephalography. And if I can remember it tomorrow without looking at paper, right, then I know it's working.
Well done. Well done. I give you a B+.
Thanks, everyone, and God bless you. And we just want to thank you for being a part of Screenshot. And, you know, we're coming back because there is more to come as we keep you educated, as we keep you informed, as we transform lives through education and wellness. I'm Arnold Kelly on behalf of the rest of the team. Thanks to Mr. Gosford Lawrence and Brian Johnston and the rest of the technical team, Mrs. Fabia Phillips Lawrence and Ms. Shanessa Hall and the rest of our producers, and to everyone who helped make this possible. God bless you and look forward to next time. Remember, our winners, send us that information and we will tell you how you can get your prizes. God bless. See you next time. I'm Arnold Kelly checking out. This has been Screenshot.